Just know that you have a lot to give, and you literally have people who are praying for someone to help them with things that you can help them with.
Welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, the podcast that helps you expand your reach and convert that reach into clients so you can lead your tribe with confidence and create change in the world while living the life you desire. And now your host, certified business coach and consultant, Mariana Ruiz.
This episode of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur is brought to you by my Become a Client Magnet Intensive. In this 90-minute intensive, you will learn how to attract ideal clients to you using your free content. So you'll learn how to actually monetize your free content, how to attract the right people, and get the people to convert. In other words, to purchase from you from your free content. And I've walked hundreds of women through this process of creating your magnetic message and really starting to attract people to you through being yourself and not being pushy and not being salesy. So if that sounds like something that you want to do, go to marianacruiz.com/workwithme, or just go to marianacruiz.com and click on the Work With Me page. Right there, you'll see all of the details of the Become a Client Magnet Intensive. Promote your products and services in a way that feels good to you, is helpful for you and your clients, as well as, of course, increase your following and increase your customer base. So to learn more about it, go to marianacruiz.com and click on the Work With Me page. Welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur. So this episode was recorded a while back with the lovely Staci Gustiuc, and we talked about how to get started in any project or any aspect of your business. She's excellent at helping you go from stuck to started and really get you on that journey towards your goals and dreams being achieved. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and I created a little freebie for this episode. You can go to marianacruiz.com/download2, and you'll actually get the first 10 steps to creating your business, the first 10 things you need to have in place in order to have a profitable business. Right to it, to interview with Staci. Hey Staci, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in your business, what your business is, and just a little bit of background?
Sure. I actually never had pictured myself owning my own business or anything like that. I was always more of a follower than I was a leader. So in December of 2015, I graduated with my bachelor's in psychology, and I always kind of thought, I'm going to go help underserved children or people in need. I just really wanted to help people. Once I really started getting into more of what that would look like, I quickly realized this is not going to be a very healthy fit for me, mentally and emotionally. And it's really not going to work out very well for my family either. I was going to have to be on call. And I knew that I really wasn't going to be able to be present for my daughter like I wanted to be. So I kind of started freaking out, not going to lie. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with myself? I just spent all this time in school, stressed out. Now I have this degree. What am I doing? And my husband was so just gracious and supporting throughout the process. And I don't know what happened, but I came across coaching online somehow. It immediately piqued my interest. So I was like, let me do some research. And the more I looked into it, the more I was like, I remember going up to my husband and saying, I figured it out. I know what I'm going to do with my life. And he was like, okay, great. What? And I was like, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to help people. I'm going to help women like me. And he's like, okay, I'm glad you found something. And then it was just kind of on from there. I immediately got myself enrolled in a business group coaching program. I didn't waste any time with that. I was like, I want to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can.
Yeah, I love that. And I think so many of us, no matter what field we're in, right? Like we have that groundbreaking moment where we're like, shoot, it's just not what I thought it was going to be. I know I felt that when I was out doing nursing. And unfortunately for me, I think it was like, I kept thinking that the answer was like more school. So I went back and started doing a master's degree in nursing. And I was then even going to go back and do a master's in healthcare administration because then I went up in there. And it's like, so many of us are at that point where we're like, this corporate job is not as fulfilling. It's not going to look the way I want my life to look, especially like when you talked about the flexibility with your family. And I think we live in like this land of opportunity right now, right? Like where you can literally just do something on your own, do it from your home and start today, right?
Yes, I totally hear you on that going back to school because, everyone was asking, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to get your master's? Because everyone thought since I was getting a degree in psychology, obviously I was going to be a psychologist and I could read everyone's mind and all these things. And I was like, well, no, I have to have a master's degree and I have to get licensed and that requires like a lot of hours. And after that last semester of school, taking 5 classes and working and being a mom and a wife, and I was like, I just can't go back to school right now. I really need a break. And I didn't even know like, okay, I'm going to get a master's degree. There's still no guarantees with that. But I feel like, yeah, like society makes you feel that way. You just go to school and you get a degree and all is well and your life will be great. But that's really not the truth from what I found out.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be the answer for everyone. Meaning like if you're in this place where you're feeling unfulfilled and you're in the corporate job and you're in the perfect job, right? That it's okay for you to feel that way and that there are other solutions for you, right? Like,
absolutely.
You don't have to settle for less than what you really want.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we are made to feel kind of guilty. Like, what more could you want? You went to college, you got a good education, you have a good, well-paying job to support your family. But that's not what life is all about. I mean, don't get me wrong, we need to pay the bills and things like that. But when you're feeling unfulfilled in your work, that really trickles out into your whole life and starts kind of messing with things. So, yeah, if you feel that, definitely it's something to pay attention to and look into because there's, like you said, so many other things we could be doing.
Yeah, and I love how you found coaching because it's a lot like psychology. And that's one of the reasons I loved it as well because I have a degree in psychology and I studied in nursing. I did some grief counseling and I've really found that very fulfilling. And for me, it was like that caring thing, like also. How about you? Like, what was it about coaching that like drew you to it?
Well, I definitely felt like my degree in psychology wasn't a waste. I learned a lot about people who have different beliefs and things than I do, but we can still get along and we can still support each other and things. And another really good thing that I liked about coaching was it really allowed me to be me. All of me. I didn't have to leave out certain parts because of rules and regulations of jobs and things like that. And I get to use my life experiences, even the bad things, or even the things that I looked at as being bad things. It's like I get to use all of that and help someone else, help them not to go off the road as far as I did, and realize there are things that you can do and there are ways to break things down and make things happen.
Yeah. So if you're okay with that, because we're both preemie moms, so if you could share a little bit about your background there and kind of like the struggles and what do you think you learned through going through that experience?
Yeah, I think that's one reason why we connected so well. And I guess it's been a while ago now. I just feel like I hadn't met a lot of other preemie moms, especially in the coaching world. So I think that being a preemie mom really impacted my business and everything, even though that was so far in advance from me actually creating my business. But it's scary to be a first-time parent, period. I think you're always worried about, can you do it and all this stuff. But whenever I remember before we were taking my daughter home from the hospital, they made us take a CPR class. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I told God, please don't make me ever have to use that. I don't think I could do it. Like, please never let this be a thing. And terrified, like excited to take her home from the hospital, but completely terrified of, oh my gosh, what if she doesn't breathe? What if she stops? All the what ifs. But it really, as time went on and, she was doing better and watching her grow, she has helped me realize so many things. It's so crazy. She really helped me step into fear to realize things are really scary. Raising a child and having a preemie is very scary. And there are so many unknowns, but just knowing that I was given her for a reason and things worked out the way they did for a reason. And it really helped to take me out of a little box that I had lived in and felt comfortable in, even though I was living a very unhealthy lifestyle at the time. I had a very unhealthy relationship. And having her and seeing her basically fight for her own life really helped me to kind of wake up and say, I'm going to start fighting for my life too, for her to have a better life. And that's really what propelled me to change and ultimately what led to me being where I am today. It's just a lot of taking steps that I was scared to take, and I never did them before. And if I did take a step forward, I would revert back to whatever it was. I just could not really make any forward progress. So watching her make that forward progress, and it was slow progress. Preemies progress much slower than their peers. And so watching her was just like showing me how much is possible. Miracles happen every day.
Yeah, they really do. Wow. You almost had me crying because when we brought my daughter home, she was on breathing monitors and we had to do the CPR class. I was already certified because I was an ICU nurse for many years. And they just said, well, you can handle it. She had already been there for so long. And the only thing holding her back was these apnea episodes where she would literally stop breathing. And so they said, well, you can handle it. We're going to give you her on monitors. And she remained on monitors for months. I can't tell you how many times I had to get her back from not breathing. It was...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was extremely painful. Because no matter what your training is, it's so different in your own home.
Right. I can't imagine. If I was you, I probably would have been like, I know like career-wise, I'm qualified to handle this, but home is a little different. I'm not really sure I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I just stayed strong. And I think that's what we talked about in our pre-call, right? Which was like, I felt like for me, being a preemie mom forced me to be strong, like forced me, just like you said, right, to like get out of the comfort zone. And really, like, I had to be strong for my family, for my daughter. And there was like no other choice. So
exactly. I agree. There was no other choice. That was the option.
Yeah. And I also think like you're only given what you can handle, right? Like, I was given a daughter that stopped breathing, but like that was also my training. So it just really was okay for me. Whereas like, I can't imagine, right? If it was another person, like if that was your daughter, like,
oh my God,
it would be really, really scary. And for me, it was scary, but not as scary, right? Like,
right. Because you totally felt capable. You're like, these are skills I've actually put to use. This is not something someone just taught me in a class, and I've never actually done it.
Right. Yeah. And I think so much of, well, it's funny you said that because I think so much of business is that, right? Like when you're struggling to start, realize that no amount of learning is really going to push you until you really move out of that comfort zone and until you are really faced with putting things into action.
I agree. And in that, I think, well, for me, I know sometimes I spent like too much time like trying to learn and not just like trying to learn a little bit about certain things and then like take some action on it. I just felt like I needed to keep consuming information. And so I almost wish there were things that I didn't know because it was just too much. And I just became overwhelmed and like paralyzed and could not really do anything. And I was just there taking in information.
Yeah. And then you get to a point where you stop even trusting that you know what to do, because you know what to do, right? But you're like afraid of doing it. And then you're like, oh my God, but I don't know if it's right. And the reality too, like I'm learning as I've been building my business and as I go, is like you learn through the mistakes. And that's one of the reasons I always ask about this question is like, what was a big failure you had? Because really these mistakes are like what propel you forward. Just like the toughest parenting moments are what allow you to really enjoy the good moments, right?
Yes, I agree. Oh, man, I really had a hard time with needing to know everything and feeling like I couldn't move forward because I didn't know. And I would start to look around and see what everyone else was doing and how they were doing it. But something about that didn't feel right. But then I'm trying to be like, well, this is working for people. This is, Staci, this is what you have to do. And it didn't feel right. So I would try. And so what would happen was I would just keep getting stuck. There was a time I thought that I didn't have, like I couldn't create a lot of content. I just felt like I didn't have all this content in me. And it was because I was too consumed with looking at everyone else's content that I would start to feel insignificant or feel like what I had to give wasn't enough. And so I would come up with nothing. And then when I started working with someone different, and that's a subject maybe we can touch on, like who you decide to work with.
Would love to.
Yeah, I started working with somebody different and she was like, Staci, you have created so much content already. She's like, who creates 5 workbooks in a week? That's not normal. I just want you to know that. And I was like, it's not? Oh, but it seems so easy. And she's like, it's easy to you because you're good at it. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was like, once I kind of got away from the whole shiny object or what they're doing is better than, what I'm doing. They've been doing it longer, and just said, I'm going to go in my little corner over here and I'm going to start putting together what's on my heart and what feels right. And I had to be kind with myself to realize too that this is a slow moving process. You don't start from the bottom and immediately have this huge audience either. So sometimes it can still feel like crickets, but really being okay with that. Like that's just part of the process and I'm okay with that. That took some time too.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen, like especially in the first season, like there was a lot of talk about like success is 10 years in the making. And so when somebody soars in their business in like they have like 100K in the first 7 months or whatever, you got to think back, like they're not starting from the same square that you're starting at. Like some of these people have ran extremely successful businesses before. Some of these people have been doing marketing for corporations or for other businesses. And so there's no comparison that's going to help you to see that. And so when you see what other people are doing, like one of the biggest things is just see that as an opportunity for you, but also know that you're starting from where you are, not where they are. And so it's okay if your progress is different. And just like you said, the progress feels really slow when you're in it. I know for me, it felt forever. It felt like forever to get really to where I started to feel even like I could breathe in my business.
Yes.
And it felt like forever, but looking back, I was like, oh, but it was only like 7 months. And that is absolutely insane compared to, you know, like I own real estate, right? So like compared to my real estate, that's like incredibly good, right? Like
Definitely.
I didn't have to invest like thousands of dollars. Like, and so remember that at the end of the day, it is a business, but you don't have to have a business that doesn't turn a profit until like a year in. It can be profitable early on if you apply yourself and just be okay with it feeling slow. And I really think like that it's just a feeling and it's not even that it actually is going slow.
I agree. I think that it's, because it's hard when, like you said, when you're in it. It definitely, sometimes it's like when you're going for a run and you just feel like you're going in slow motion. Like you make it to the point that you wanted to run to and you're kind of like, how did I even get here? Because it just seemed like it took forever. But you learn a lot on that too. So it's not a waste at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, what is really the worst thing that can happen? Like, you realize that this is or is not for you, right? Like, because there are a lot of uncertainties, right? Like as an entrepreneur. So you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, really.
Yes, you do. And I think, it's really helped me to be like, hey, this is going to be difficult. And this is going to mean that I am going to be uncomfortable, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And there was a time when I most definitely was not okay with that. Like my last semester in college, so for my bachelor's degree, I had literally been doing everything online because the campus was like 40 minutes away. So the last semester, I had 4 classes on campus and 1 online. And I kid you not, all 4 of those classes told me I had to give a presentation. 1 would be as a group. The other 3 classes were like a solo presentation. I seriously contemplated really quitting college for those reasons. I couldn't give a presentation. There was no way I could stand up in a room of like 30 to 40 people and talk. I just thought, oh no, I don't know how that's ever going to work. And I got really lucky. They had a really great, well, not lucky. I don't believe in luck. They had a student success center and they had academic coaches, which were like voluntary students or staff. And I was like, I'm going to go check this center out and see, which was a big step for me because normally I wouldn't even have done that. Like I'm going to show up to this place. I don't know where it is on campus and ask these people for help. That seemed risky, but I did. And I got paired with an adjunct professor who was like amazing. And we worked out a plan. I would prepare my presentation and everything. And then before my actual presentation, I would come into there and we would go into an empty classroom with her and a few other people. And I would give my presentation in front of them.
Cool.
And I was terrified. But I was like, at least they can give me feedback and, it'll be good. And I'm so glad I did it because, I was still scared for every one of them, but I aced all of them. And I had people telling me, you did a really good job. And I just had this weird feeling. I was like, even when school's over, I just know I'm not going to be done speaking in front of people. And look where I am today. I'm totally not done with it. And it's going to be what I'm doing in my life.
Yeah. And had you not pushed through that feeling of like doom and gloom, right? Like that little step probably, I think, affected you more than you know, right? Like to start your business.
Yeah.
Because if you hadn't done that and you realized, oh my God, I have to actually present in front of people if I have my own business, right? And do Facebook Lives or anything like that, right?
I would have been like, no way, not even an option.
Mm-hmm.
I would have quickly went on to the next thing. Like if that means I have to go sit in a cubicle, that's what I'll go do because I would be more comfortable doing that. I've never wanted to be any attention drawn to me. It made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I love that you put it that way, because one of the things that I really feel passionate about is like this whole thing about visibility and creating content, right? And you have to be comfortable with getting your content out there. And there is a risk, right, that eyes are on you. There is a risk that you're putting your creative energy into something and somebody won't like it. And so you have to be really strong about that and just be okay with the fact that not everybody's going to like your stuff, right? And that's okay. You're not for everybody. But like you said, that's like can be very, very uncomfortable.
It can, but like you said, you have to embrace it. I got to a point where I was like, well, a lot of my story is, hard to talk about. It requires a lot of vulnerability. And I was always, like a people pleaser. So I'm recovering from that. And I was like, it's really, really selfish of me to not, speak up and share because I am scared. Like God brought me through all of these things. Here I am today, and I'm going to be too scared to talk about it, like because somebody may think bad about me or my family or, this, that, or the other. I was like, no, that's ridiculous, Staci. That's just crazy. Get over it. And you're going to share it. And there's people that are meant to hear it and that will benefit from it. And I've always said that even before becoming a business owner, if one person could be affected in a positive way based on something that I have shared with them or gone through in my past and shared, then it was totally worth it. And I would do it again.
Exactly. I think that is like the hardcore truth, right? Like when we remember that in those uncomfortable moments, in the uncertainty, and we remember that like this is not about us, it's about helping others, and by you sharing, you are helping others. And I love that.
That's actually like that whole what success means, because it means something different to everyone, and I think that's what's so great about it. But to me, success means that, I've impacted the lives of other people, both loved ones and strangers and clients, and that I'm giving of myself as God has called me to do, and that I'm helping other people, along the way. There's just something about that that's just like, that's success. And being able to give back to different charities that you feel passionate about as well.
Yeah. So for you, success is about impacting others, both your family and people that you don't know yet. And then also giving back and using your God-given talents. Is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love talking about what success means to people because it is so different for everyone. And most people, I would say it's not about money, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not when I reach like 20 million followers. It's not when I reach like $20 million. Like none of that matters. And so when you start to hone in on that, it really starts to get clear to you, like it's okay to start today.
Yeah, like you said, today, my best friend got me this little, she knows I'm like obsessed with like wall quotes and things. And she got me one that says, today is the day. And to me, it's like you can really look at that every day and you can say, today is the day. And you need to specify what today is the day for what, because it can be something different. It might be today is the day I'm going to write a blog post. Today is the day I'm going to share that with people. Today is the day I'm going to get on Facebook Live. Today is the day I'm going to, reach out to someone, like connect. Like even connecting with you, there was a risk in me approaching you and saying, hey, Mariana, what is the whole process about getting on the podcast? How does it work? Would it even work out? I didn't know. And I was like, oh, she interviews some really awesome, like 6-7 figure business owners, and I haven't made it to that point yet. So I don't really know. But if I don't try, I will never know.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to start, even though it's scary. If you just sit there, no one will ever know that you're there.
Oh my God, I love that. It's so true.
I think we forget that. We're like, oh, well, I commented on someone's post somewhere. And it's like, but that's not, that's a great step if you're not doing anything. But, we have to move past that if we really want to move forward and impact the lives of other people.
Yes, you're so right on that. And I love what you said about just ask. That's pretty much how I got on the Huffington Post, because I was like, I have this article and I don't know, I think it's good, but I'm not sure. And I just emailed Ariana Huffington. I was like, okay, here it is, like it or not. And they took it, right? And so no matter where you are, it doesn't have to be revolutionary. You just have to ask.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, especially when we're thinking about submitting articles, because there's just something about the Huffington Post. It's like, oh my God, I don't know, I got to write, this has to be the best blog post ever. And they're like, yeah, sure, let's do this. And you're like, oh, that's all I had to do. I didn't even have to build it up like that. I'm writing something that I'm passionate about, that I'm knowledgeable on. Why would they not take it?
Yeah, exactly. Unless you get over your fear and you look at that bigger picture, right? That it's going to reach more people, therefore help more people. Until you get over that fear of looking like a failure because it might get turned down, unless you get past that, you're never going to reach more people.
That's true, because if we just sit there and don't, we technically are failing. Because We're not doing anything. And I think remembering that it's not about us. If we're really in this to help other people and make an impact, then we have to get over ourselves. Nobody is perfect. That's no human. We are all imperfect in different ways. So there's so much beauty in that, stepping out and saying, I know I'm not perfect. I'm growing and learning every day, but I do have things to share and I can help. So I'm going to step up and continue to look at what avenues I can take to do that, to just start.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me, if somebody is looking to hire a coach, you said you wanted to talk about how you selected somebody and how that kind of went for you. So I'd love to dive into that just a little bit if you can.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend, working with someone the sooner the better, because it's just something about having someone else who's, got experience and has kind of been in the game, so to speak, because they have a very different perspective and they know how the business works and they can see things that you can't see because you just don't know. And they can really show you how to leverage things and stuff like that. But I don't think that I looked at a few different coaches, but I don't think I looked at enough. And now I'm not saying be super indecisive, you need to set a time frame of when you're going to pick someone. But I started out in a 90-day group coaching program. And there's pros and cons to group versus, one-on-one. But I think I would have been better off if I would have started out with more of a mindset thing versus a business program. And I learned a great deal in that program, but I had a hard time progressing forward once we were getting out of the mindset, which was in the beginning. And then we needed to start getting into ideal client. And then the next thing you know, she's talking about sales funnels and webinars. And I'm just whoa, I'm still back here in mindset. And I didn't realize, I guess, until we started the program, oh, wow, I got a lot of work to do right here.
Yeah, I think a couple things about that. So when you would do one-on-one, you can have it tailored. I've never been in a group coaching program as a coachee. I've coached group programs and I have been in masterminds, but I have never been in a group program as a coachee. Actually, that's not true. There's a course I'm taking right now that has some group calls. But for me, I don't even consider that a group program because it doesn't feel like enough support, really. And even though I'm more advanced, I guess, I'm not just starting, but it doesn't feel like enough support. So for me, having a one-on-one coach has been transformational because when I am stuck, like we're not moving on until I'm unstuck.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that. The one thing that I found helpful about the group program was there were people at different levels because the program covered so many different things. So some people were fairly new like I was. Some people had been in it, kind of dabbled off and on. And other people were, you know, established already. But it was great because they would ask questions about things I was not even thinking about. And so while maybe I didn't need the information right then, it was something I could always come back to. So I was able to learn about things that I wouldn't have, you know, kind of learn from their mistakes or things that they had issues with and that they were going through right then, I was able to know about and could avoid.
Yeah. Totally.
And so that was nice. And I made a lot of, met a lot of awesome women in there. And we still keep in touch. And it's always great to see, what they're up to and how they're doing things. Because we all kind of had like a different coaching niche, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. But I would definitely say make sure you really feel like you believe in the same things and not just business wise. Because I think that was something for me. And then when I moved into working with someone different, and her and I do work one-on-one, I see huge difference. Her and I are still working together, and we believe the same. She is, yes, like you said, when I'm stuck, we're not moving forward onto something else until we get through that. And she just, I don't know, you really have to feel like they are really in it to see you win. They want your success probably more than they want their own in a certain sense, if that makes sense,
Oh, yeah. That's kind of like the value of coaching, right?
Yeah. And you really get that more so in that one-on-one setting.
Yeah. And I think a group coaching program is good. I think not as much if you need the mindset stuff, but I think it's really good for people who need the knowledge.
Yes.
But they want more support than a course, right? So like you want or you need like the actual strategy, like how are you going to get your business up and running? But maybe you don't need all of the mindset work as much, then a group program might be a good idea. And like you said, whoever you choose, make sure you have the same, I call it values, but you're saying beliefs, but really like that you are on the same page about a lot of things, more than just business.
Yeah. And that was one thing I didn't really think a lot about, because when you're really starting out, you don't really know what all you should be looking for exactly. You see some people and you feel like they're relatable in certain aspects, but I would encourage everyone to dig a little bit deeper and really kind of think about, the type of person that you are and how you work best. Like what are some very like non-negotiable things for you? So when you're looking for someone, it can help you make an easier decision and, one that's definitely fit for both people involved.
Yeah, love that. And so let me ask you a little bit about like, is this what you wish you knew a little bit sooner, or is there anything else?
I do wish I would have known that. I think I wish I would have known a little less.
That's interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Like I kind of talked about earlier how I tend to take in too much information and then I have a hard time doing anything with it. So you're learning, all this mindset stuff, and then comes like all the systems and structures. So like, building a website and learning about, social media and building sales funnels and stuff like that. It was way too much too soon for me personally. I didn't know what to do with all of it. I felt behind because I knew all this stuff needed to happen. I felt like I was so behind, and I had a hard time in the beginning really letting myself just be in the mindset stuff and be okay being there. I really struggled with that for a while.
Yeah, when you said that, it just totally brought everything full circle with me. This course that I'm in, that does have some group calls, but it's not primarily like a group coaching course. We are going to a live event and we have a Facebook group, and one of the live calls, the teacher asked, does anyone here feel behind? Because he saw that a lot of people were saying, I feel really behind, right? Like, and pretty much everybody there felt behind. So that's really interesting that that's what came up for you as well, because really nobody is behind or ahead of anybody, right? Like you're exactly where you have to be right now for where you are in your life and in your business. And honestly, I can tell you because I think mindset is such an important piece of business, because you literally cannot advance in your business until you're ready mindset wise. It just won't happen. And you're going to keep getting stuck there because you have to work through the mindset piece. So knowing and trusting that you're exactly where you have to be on your journey is so important. And, it's like putting on those blinders and like just remembering that this is your journey and it is messy. It is. These mindset things especially come up time and time again, right? Like,
yeah, I love that. I so agree. And I think for me in the beginning, I really felt like I was wasting time. Oh, I'm just reading all this stuff for mindset and I'm just writing out positive things for my negative things. And I felt like, oh, Staci, you're not doing anything. You're not creating anything. How are you having a business? And it was like later I was realizing, and you can't skip that stuff. You can't.
You can't.
You won't get far at all. And like you said, we're there for a reason. And especially if, you're a coach or a mentor or anything like that, you have to go through those things if you're going to be helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it really helps you be relatable and you really understand. But yeah, there's no, skip, go, and, collect your $200. That doesn't work.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So much. And it is exactly like you said, you cannot skip to funnels when you don't have a foundation. You can't skip to writing a business plan and having that foundation if you don't know what you're doing yet and you're not clear on it, right? So it is so easy to want to learn all of the fun, complicated. I mean, let's face it, like learning is fun, right? Like when you're like, oh my God, that's how a funnel works. Like that's freaking amazing. And I can make sales every single day. That's awesome. I want that. Like, yeah, we all want that, but you don't start there. You start at square zero.
Yes. And I think that's like such an important thing to remember with starting where you are. So once you start getting into these communities, and you're around other coaches and things, you will start to see, offers for different things, like for sales funnels and for stuff like that. And it's really easy to be like, oh, I need that. No. You need to think about where you are right now. What do you need right now? Because you'll get all that later, like not jumping ahead of yourself and feeling like I need this thing and I need that thing. I mean, yes, the time will come when you will, be able to utilize that. But really, like we had talked about on our pre-call, like, the whole word of the year. Mm-hmm. And I totally think that's such a good thing to do because it helps you come back to where you are.
Mm-hmm.
What is my main goal here?
Yeah. So if you don't have a word of the year already, it's not too late to just create a word for the rest of the year. I had never heard of it until I entered entrepreneur land.
Right? Like many things.
Yeah. So last year I used the word focus, and this year I'm using the word abundance. And so it's a great reminder to what is your ultimate goal? What is it that you're looking to create? And so choosing one word to really center yourself. And what's yours, Staci? Because I love it.
Rise up.
Yeah. So it could be a phrase as well, but it's anything that's going to keep you focused on your ultimate goal.
And I didn't pick a word last year. I wish I would have, but I had a hard time. I was seeing, these different words that I felt like were, powerful and good to use, but they didn't feel I don't know, it just didn't feel 100%. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's getting really close. I need to pick something. And I was like struggling with it. And then I had to remember, like, just be kind to myself. And through prayer and journaling, that's when it came. I was just journaling one day and I was like, oh my God, this is the word.
Yeah, for me, I wanted to use growth because I wanted to really focus on internal growth this year, as well as business growth. And I'm at a point right now where I'm scaling my business. And so I'm adding a lot more different revenue streams, and just a lot of growth has to happen when you're expanding your business. And so for me, I was at the same place where like growth just wasn't, it felt like almost pushed onto me. Like it just didn't feel right for me, because a part of me still really wanted to enjoy every step of the way. And so I ended up going with abundance, which for me really means like allowing everything to be really great, allowing the experience of everything to be really great. And in January, I really saw that come to life, and I can't wait. And I think you said the same thing happened to you, right, Staci?
Yeah, I'll be honest. This month, it's February. Yay, I can't believe it. But yeah, January was like really a rough time for me. Just a lot of like things in my like with my family was going on, and it really felt like I couldn't really take a breath of relief. But I was able to come back still to the word and say, rising up out of this is still a thing. And that really helped me. And also when I picked the word, or when it came to me, it was kind of like I knew that, that whole getting more visible and really stepping into my power was like, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really going to put forth a lot of effort and a lot of focus on getting uncomfortable and rising up. That means I'm going to be seen, and I'm going to have to reach out, and I'm going to have to do things that make me uncomfortable. And maybe that comes with rejection, but maybe, in other areas it won't. In March, I'll be going to a workshop. And then we'll be doing all kinds of stuff. And then later on this year, I'll be speaking somewhere. So it's like so awesome how things end up working out, when you declare this is happening.
Love that. Oh my God. Congratulations. That's so cool. And how did you get those opportunities?
Right. Well, getting out there and making connections with people. And when you really are vulnerable and you really share with people, that allows people to connect with you, and you have no idea how well other people can relate, or just by telling about things that have happened in your life, and people are on the other end and they're like, oh my God, I'm about to cry over here. I can't believe, you're here, and this and that. And you're like, oh, you just get so, we're too close to things in our own life, and we can't really see. And I think it's easy when we look at other people and hear other people's stories, we're like, oh, wow, they went through so much, their story's like better than mine. Like it's more powerful. It's because we're too close to our own stuff, and we have been just dealing with it for such a long time. But actually getting and sharing, you'll start to realize everybody's story is powerful.
Yes, everybody's story really is powerful. And I think it just reminded me of like when your coach said, not everybody can create this much content, right? It's like the same thing happens with our business. We're so close to it that we don't even see what our strengths are in our business.
Oh, man, you're so right. I agree.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was the systems, and like I'm good at content too. But for me, it's like creating a system around it. Like for me, everything systems has been my forte, and I refused to really see that at first. And my coach is like, that's not normal. And my biz bestie's like, but how did you do that? How did you hire people? How did you train them? What did you train them on? Like, you have SOPs, like, what the heck? And I'm like,
tell me how.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? I just wrote it. And like, you know what I mean?
I just did it.
I just did it. Like, what do you mean? Right. And it's funny because that's exactly the thing that you can get through coaching, especially on a one-on-one level, definitely through masterminding and also to some degree with group coaching as well. Not with courses though, right? Like
Right.
in a course, it's just you going through the material and then you don't really get the feedback. And that's why as I'm scaling my business, I really want to provide some other opportunities. Also give the feedback because I think that's really part of the transformation, right?
Yeah, even I think for like the DIY courses, which are great for people who maybe aren't able to make like as big of a investment up front, like starting out, maybe they're just not really sure. I think in the beginning, sometimes I had no clue. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm coaching, but, in what area, with whom? I didn't know any of that. So like a DIY course is like a good way to get a good feel, but I still feel like having that, I don't know, even if it's like one call or two, really makes a difference. Just having someone else as a sounding board, oh my gosh, it makes a world of difference.
It's a huge difference. I wouldn't be where I am today for sure if I didn't have the support.
It's a must. I think that a lot of times, we'll put it off or we'll say, oh, I can't right now, finances and things like that. But I think most of the people that I have met in the coaching world who, got coaches, we didn't just have money laying around. You just make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You do whatever you have to do, start where you are. And it's an investment. I think I was worried that, and I didn't realize this at the time, but when I went into the program and we started talking about like how much it was going to cost and stuff, I was scared. And what it really boiled down to is I was scared that I was going to go through the 3 months and I was going to come out the same way I went in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not true. If you show up and you do the work, you're in no way going to be the same person. Maybe you're not going to have you may not be getting clients right off the bat if you're starting from zero like I was. And you may, it all depends on your progress and, the work that you're doing, but you won't come out the same person, especially all of the mindset. And that's really important and vital for later on in your business. So it's an investment personally, for yourself. If nothing else, if you decided, if I would have said, hey, I don't think coaching is for me, I still would have gotten more than my money's worth out of that.
Yeah, me too. I think every single course, every single investment I've made in my business, I got something out of it. And I, like you said, am a completely different person than I was 2 years ago. And I don't think it would have been possible without the support, without the education, and without getting really uncomfortable.
I agree. I agree with all of that. Yeah, that's true. And it's hard. That's the hard stuff. I'm sure you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk and all of his stuff. And, he's like, it's easy to listen to these talks and read these quotes and stuff like that. But he's like, it's really hard to put that to action. And he's right. It is. You can read a quote and be like, oh, yeah. One of my favorite quotes is, I think it's by George Adair. And it's like, everything that you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And it's so true. And I would look at that quote and I would be like, oh, I know it's true. But okay, I gotta, this, Staci. Now it's time to just, lean in. The fear doesn't go away in the beginning. Maybe later on you get more comfortable, but it's all about just leaning in and knowing if you know the direction that you want to go, you'll know sort of what's worth it, for a lack of better words, what's worth being uncomfortable.
Yes. And you really learn, right? Through doing it, what is going to be the most profitable for where you are. And I want to help people see that investing in your business is an investment, right?
Yes.
And we have to make those mistakes in order to really see well, I got this, for me, I got this course on webinars, which is a great way to scale your business. But I got it at the very beginning of my coaching business, which was not the appropriate time. Now, I love the course. I've done tons of webinars since then. And I'm very grateful I took that course, but it was not at the right time for me. And I am not the same person because I learned an extremely valuable lesson. And if you've ever heard my first episode, I talked about it. And I learned that like a business is built one relationship at a time. I would have never learned that.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I agree. I had this like a similar experience of buying a course on, actually it was Periscope at the time. And I would watch people, but I wouldn't do my own and thought, okay, I need this course. And it would be very beneficial, more so like maybe now in my business than then. Because back then I still didn't feel like I had anything to talk about, you know?
Yeah, you didn't have your message, right?
Yep. But I thought I needed to have it. So yeah, like we can always use those things later. But I don't think that they're really failures that we have in business. They're learning lessons. There's something to learn in everything. Like life is trial and error, right? So why would business be any different?
Exactly. Okay, awesome. So where can people find out more about you and more about what you do? And is there a gift you want to share with people? We'd love to hear more about that.
Sure. You can find me on my website at bigdreamsandbighearts.com, or I'm hanging out in my Facebook group, Beautifully Driven, a lot. It's easy to find me there. So I would love to gift you guys with my free 3-day challenge. It's called the Dream Big Challenge. So it's all about getting started. You know, we have these big dreams, but we really have to step back. And there's things that we have to do before we just like jump in, like learning the power of accountability and the power of investing in ourselves and things like that. So that's what the challenge is set up to do. So I would love to gift that to you guys.
Oh my God, that sounds like a really awesome and needed resource. So we'll be sure to link that in the show notes. And is there anything else that we haven't covered today that like if we were to get off this podcast, you would be like, man, I wish I would have said that? Is there anything like that to help moms to grow their business, obviously?
I think that you mentioned this, like it's messy. And sometimes you're hiding out in your kid's closet to jump on a call, you know, been there. And, you know, we are capable of so much more than we've ever imagined. And we don't give ourselves near enough credit. So just know that you have a lot to give, and you literally have people who are praying for someone to help them with things that you can help them with. So it's, you know, get out of your own way and just begin. You don't have to know every step.
Love that. That is such a good piece of advice. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast. And when we started recording, literally, I am recording from my bed because all of the bedrooms, my office is occupied by a sleeping infant. My husband is in the living room, and this was the room that was available. So
it happens.
It happens. And, you know, we're flexible, and that's the beauty of being a mom.
It is. It really is. Thank you so much for having me on. I really, really enjoyed chatting with you.
You too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So there you have it, another episode of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur. If you haven't already, head on over to marianacruiz.com/download2 to get your copy of the first 10 steps to building a profitable online business. And there I'll walk you through a little guide of some of the really, really essential things that many people miss when they're getting started with their online business. And in the next episode, I'm going to be interviewing Gabrielle Bogan, and we're going to be talking about scheduling your day in alignment with your values. This is a hugely important episode, especially if you're a mom, and I know many of my listeners are. But even if you're not a mom, it's really important that you really understand where your time is going and really start to plan things out so that you can have the most productive days every single day and work towards that big goal. So we talked a little bit about goal setting here, and we're going to continue the conversation in the next episode, and we're going to talk about time management. And I'm going to actually show you screenshots of what my planner looks like and how I kind of keep track of my time and organize my things. So I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Be sure to hit subscribe so you get all of the updates. Chat with you soon. Thanks for listening to another episode of The Impact Driven Entrepreneur. So if you haven't gone to marianac.com/download2 yet, you'll want to head on over there because I have a little freebie that goes along with this topic today. And it's all about the first 10 things you need to build a profitable online business. And so head on over to marianacruiz.com/download2 and get your copy of the guide.